The reason I'm doing this class, I started doing this class a few years ago, is because I had several lectures that I was doing, like right hand positioning, right hand technique, left hand technique, stage fright, stuff like this. And it would take about an hour 15 minutes. I'll tell everything to tell, and then there will be moments of questions. And I usually found the questions more interesting than my lectures. So I thought, why not just get rid of the lecture and just start with the questions? And I think that also, I also remember when I was a student long time ago, I sometimes felt there was not enough time to ask questions, because you come in and you need to know your fingering for the Bach or for the Brahms, and you are busy, and then that's it. Lesson is over, and there are many things maybe that you wanted to speak with your teacher, but you didn't have the time. So I thought maybe it would be, the way it will go is that you throw questions, and if I'll know the answer, I'll give you the answer, and then we'll have discussion. When we are out of questions, the lecture will be over. So it could be 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or an hour and a half, depending on what you want to know. So the hard part is the first question. Who wants to ask the first question? Okay, we go.
I was always making the mistake of overlooking some important details because I was pursuing this old school type of feeling of making the piece very like kind of sacrificing the detail for the overall effect, and not really effect, but like for the good of the whole. And what are your thoughts about that?
In what way were you doing this? I mean, you were just, you just said, first of all, look, I'll go through, I learned the first movement of the Brahms concerto, then I'll realize, then I'll slowly know what I'm doing there.
No. More like many people would do something, for example, a beautiful rubato or something, some places, and I would rather not do that in order to keep the whole thing more compact and more understandable. Like, this was always my problem in like a successful interpretation, because many times I would just like do it the wrong way, I think.
Well, let's first of all, although it's very tempting to say the wrong way, let's try to take that out of the vocabulary, because when you're talking about interpretation, you're talking about the taste, and the taste can change all the time. My taste changes all the time. My Bach changes, my Mozart changes all the time. I not dramatically, but I find new things. So the first of all, this comes to this, and I think if I understand your question right, and please correct me because it got a little confusing. You're saying if you had a great idea in a certain point, like using suddenly overall vibrato or something like or staccato in a place, but you said no because it interrupts the piece as a whole, then I am in favor of this. Like when we do many things, especially when we kind of take old music and we follow it blindly, then we start taking things that people have done before. And like many things, in the beginning, there is the piece, and then great artists start to interpret the piece, and each of them is doing something extra or more. And then their students are doing a little extra. So I'll put another harmonic here and another dumbo staccato here, and slowly the whole thing becomes really fat. And slowly the thing becomes really fat. So that really hurt. If I start getting swollen and taken to the hospital. So what I try to do is break it down to. Damn it. Okay.
Behind your head?
Okay. I'll try to break it into something which is like what did the composer want, and then as if it's an old piece. I mean, if we have let's say a Urtext edition, then it's easy. We just have an Urtext edition. But if we have We can see what the composer wanted. But if we don't, then what I try to do is I try to do opposite of what's written. Down bow, I do up bow. 5 minutes for an hour, you know? I'll go like, well, it says piano, it says crescendo, I'll do the opposite. And sometimes, 9 times out of 10, it will be complete trash. I will be wrong. But 1 time out of 10, I'll say, wow, that's an interesting idea. And then I'll start looking if the idea is following, if I can follow this idea through. So I think when you come to talk about your interpretation and you find a good idea or you find something, then first of all, of course, try it. But then definitely think, does it work with the rest of the piece? Or am I doing something which is, you know, I just doing it because I want to show off or because this, by the way, fair enough. There are good show-off pieces that you should show off, yeah? But why am I doing this, you know? For example, we had this thing on the tartini, like all apples, you know, and you think about it, you know, why is it done? When it's like to the ear, it's much nicer to just do a normal pose. So I think what happened is like one person said, oh, that would be nice to show off this, and then somebody else put in another one, and then it become fat. So that was the long answer. The short answer is, yeah, I agree. Okay, that was the difficult. Thank you for that. Come on. That's it. Ask.
Okay, so my question is somehow related to this. When you have a new piece, completely new piece, there's no recording, there's nothing, how would you start work on that?
My quartet is now learning 2 Israeli quartets, and there are no recordings of them. And this is hard. It's a really, in some ways it's hard, but in other ways it's kind of liberating. So first of all, I'll have the score. Like if I'm playing a sonata, I'm definitely going to play from the score. If I have a quartet, I learn the quartet. No, I just put the score and I just went and I just learn my part and look what happens in the other people's part. And so from that point of view, I get to know what is happening, and even if it's well, you're talking about usually 21st century music or really unknown something in the classical baroque that you couldn't find anything about it, but that's different rules. If you're talking about 21st century music, I think that first of all you get to know what's happening, like from a very technical point, and then world is your oyster. You just do what you want because you're the first one to do it. So, and of course, if the composer is alive and is there, then of course you're talking to them. And I had this experience with my quartet when we played another quartet of an Israeli composer was alive, and it was like an 8-movement quartet that should have been 3, okay, but it was an 8-movement, and we just worked really hard on them. And we were thinking, you know, they were like triple fortissimo and then quadruple fortissimo next to 2 pianos and then 4 pianos, and we were just, there were like issues in the quartet, like should it be like 4 pianos more than 3 pianos or less than 3, you know, it was like, got into a lot of argument, and then finally, you know, 2 months later or something, like just before the concert, we had the chance to talk to the composer, so we had all this list of many, many questions, which were 95% of them completely dumb. Like completely dumb. Like should the 3 pianissimo be more than 4 pianissimo because we got all into it. And to tell you the truth, the composer said, "I'm just happy you're playing it." That he was like, "Do what you want. Do what you want. I'm just happy you're playing my piece." Just he said, even you can omit what you don't like. Just play 1 movement. It's okay. I'll just he was so happy. And we were playing, and the thing is that sometimes, especially the more it's funny, like, the older the piece is, the less we have of the composer. Like, if you take Bach, solo, nothing's written, just music, just the music he wrote and the bows. But the more we progress, the more people wrote crescendo, diminuendo, and then we go to the 20th century, and it's like, somebody's writing you a letter, like, here this sforzando this way, and here's what I did, and all these things. And I think that many of it is, when I say I rarely found a composer that really, really, really wanted what was written. Most of it is open to negotiation. So I kind of take what I want and do what discard the other ones. And if he has problems, he can find somebody else to play with.
Okay, so next question.
Yeah, good. The interview.
You were talking about 4 elements of playing, of working, I remember.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask, I forgot one day.
Come in, just come in. And if you need more chairs, are there enough chairs? There's also a piano chair over there, so you can take a piano chair if you want. You want to come in? No, you okay? You're okay. It's next to this. Okay. Side. Me in drama class.
So
sorry, back to your question. Sorry.
Yeah. So about the 4 elements, how would you work on that? Like 4 elements together on what would be the order, or working on that? How would you start?
Okay. By the way, the 4 elements, it's one of the things that the more I teach and the more I have to like prepare things quickly, and I'm saying it in a happy way because that means I have more concerts and my career is a little bit better than it was before. So the more I have to, I don't have like 8 months for the next concert, so I have to do it quickly. The more I use the 4-element system, and I think it's this is the moment of when I say Eyalkless.com has all the videos, including explanation of the 4 elements. Come over and everything. But I'll speak about it also. The 4 elements are technique, sound, musicality, and performance. So the 4 things that you need to have complete in order to have a successful concert. And the most common mistake is that people do the first 3 and don't work on their performance. And then walk on stage and hope that this is going to be all right because they played in the room. And then really bad things happen, and they go, oh my God, what happened? Why did I play good in the room, or play good when I was in the 5 minutes of the hour when I was trying out, and now I'm on stage and I don't feel well. So usually they skip practicing performances because in their head, performance only happen on stage. But practicing performance, and I want to speak about this the most, is crucial and have many elements in them. But if you talk about technique is what is written on the page, intonation and tempo, pretty much. Okay, so it's the easiest to measure and it's the easiest to use. But even when you practice your technique, I think you should be careful for making mistakes that makes everything prolonged. Like for example, a very common mistake is I practiced 2 weeks slowly the Brahms concerto. Okay, that's very nice. But now they want to play it faster, and that fast part, they haven't practiced. I mean, the hand of God didn't just come down from heaven and say, now you may practice. So when you're practicing intonation slow, for example, it has also a problem that if you practice something slow all the time, which is important stage, but also can be a lie, because if I practice like a bow technique and I'm practicing it very, very slow, I'm using a different part of a different movement, a different part of the bow, a different feeling. If I'm doing even shifting slow, but I need a shift fast, I'm actually practicing something that I'm not going to use later. So practicing something slow, even in the beginning, okay, I'm going to practice this beginning of the Brahms concerto very slow, that's fine. But immediately say, what do I need? What's the speed that I need? I need a faster speed. Okay, I'm going to take all the shifts and speed them up. So I'm going to be all ready for performance immediately on the first day. And so this is the first stage. The first stage is basically practicing technique, but you can't practice it completely void of your musical idea, your musical output. Because what is fingerings if not choosing how you're going to sound? So fingering is not just, somebody written on the page to go to the 3rd position. It's about what does 3rd position sound like, and do I really want to use it? So perhaps the first stage of getting a piece is having an ideal, and keep your ideal without losing it as you go through the stages. So the first, okay? Everybody okay with the first stage? You go to the second stage. Second stage is sound. And for me, that's always been, I wouldn't say an enigma, but it's always puzzling because 9 out of 10 people who come into my room are asking me to improve their sound. When I say, what do you want? They want to improve their sound. The 10th person asks me to do something else, but should tell me to improve his sound. So it's just not unaware. It's all about the sound. If you go back to the moment that you decide that you love the violin, that you really love it, not just when you're 6 years old and somebody pushes a violin to you, it's like, or maybe you choose it, but the moment you are more of an adult and you go, wow, you know what, I want to pursue this moment, I want to play. It usually involves that you hear somebody playing very well, or you just suddenly realize you're playing something and it's beautiful sound. So sound is so essential to us, much more essential than the right interpretation for Bach. And I'm saying it as the person who has the right interpretation of Bach, or speak to him on a general basis. But then again, people don't practice sound. People accept their sound as it is. That's my sound, and that's what I'm going to do. So they take the piece and they practice intonation and they practice metronome and they practice everything that is measurable, but they don't practice sound. And practicing sound, what is a beautiful sound? If you try to define yourself, what do you want to, what's the beautiful sound? It's clean sound. It's sound that you don't have embellishments. It's a sound that you are controlling 90 or 80% of the time with your bow. And then also vibrato control. So once you have, you worked yourself and done the shifting and the timing and you're in metronome, on the first two lines of the Brahms concerto, we're still there, yeah? Then you go back and say, okay, but how does it sound? Does it sound? Is it the sound that I want to create? Is it the sound that can bring? This is the stage that you work, and all the time think backwards. All the time think how you're sounding, and taking care that it's exactly what you want. That you use vibrato when you want, not when the hand is free. Okay, or that you have control of going from the air into the string. Questions over the second stage? Everybody okay with this? Yes. Third one is musicality. Now, of course, as I said before, musicality is everything. So if I choose a fingering, it's because of musical agenda. If I choose to do a crescendo with my sound or with my vibrato, it's because of musical agenda. But working on a piece technically and working on a piece like really slow or faster for sound kills the soul a little bit. Just slowly and slowly and slowly you die. I think, that's happened. And all the inspiration that you had hearing the Brahms concerto the first time or the first time in your adult life, slowly you forget it because you've been practicing for 2 months on the Brahms concerto, so it's not so amazing maybe. Maybe it still is, but most people, slowly there is dissipation of this enthusiasm. So the third stage, I always go back and say, am I doing exactly what I want? And I've seen it as a teacher. Somebody comes and plays Mozart, and they've practiced the Mozart. I can hear they practice the Mozart, but their musicality is off the chart. They go, they're doing different things, and so I just take and I say, what do you want to do? This way or this way? And then immediately they go, I want that way, but they play this way. And it's like, if I play to them, they wouldn't be happy with my musicality, but they are kind of accepting the musicality because they got used to it. Because down boy suddenly they do a kick, and here there's a free third finger, so they do a vibrato. So this is the moment to re-question yourself and reapply what exactly you want to say. And this is also a great time for experiments, doing opposite than what's written on the page, trying to be more flexible about things. And of course, then you get also advice from different teachers, from YouTube, from different players. This is the moment that I go actually to YouTube and hear 3 different people playing the piece I want to play, and go, that I like, that I'm going to steal, that I didn't like. And by saying that I didn't like, it's important because what didn't I like about it? Too fast, too slow, not my type. Listen to other, today is amazing. In Stone Age, when I was young, I had to go and buy records, and now, it's amazing, it's free. So please, it's part of your practice. Listening to other people play is part of your practice. And then now we come to the last stage, it's performance. Now, practicing performance means that you have done those two lines on the first practicing session. You've done technique, you've worked on your sound, you've re-questioned your musicality, and now you stop. Now you know what you want to do on those two lines. So now comes performance, and this is the thing that you have to put yourself in performance situation. So for example, when we work in a room by ourselves, we move around. We sit, we look in the window, we kind of stand like this, or we don't care what we do at the moment because there's nobody there. But when we're going to be on stage, we're either going to be sitting, if it's a quartet, or standing in front of music, if it's sonata. And this is important, to actually work out what's going to be the physical surroundings that you're going to be. So when if I practice my Brahms, 2 lines, then I'm going to put myself, so okay, I'm not going to move. That's part 1. 2, I'm going to sing the entrance of the orchestra. So I'm not just going to go like most of us practice, no. Most of us go like and we start playing. And this is how we practice. But that's fine to practice the first three stages if you want, but you need to kind of put the hand and many times, and I've worked with a few of you, when you didn't know how to start the piece, when you came like this and it was like, oh, because you're not used to it. Yes? True. So this is performance. Performance is not only I'm performing to everybody and I'm getting 15 people into my room and now I'm going to see if it works or not. Performance is actually thinking what will happen in performance. How I'm going to think when I'm in performance. Am I going to play for music? How am I going to turn the page? Most of us play sonatas. By the time we play it, we don't look at the music until the moment we're on stage. And suddenly we're looking, you see somebody looking at the music that he never seen it before and doesn't know when to turn the page, and because you didn't practice standing and looking at the Beethoven sonata that you're playing, and realizing, okay, I want to play for music, so the music is in front of me and I need to pace myself to lean over. With what hand am I going to turn the page? With this one or with this one? Sometimes it makes all the difference. So that's performance practice. Learning by heart. It's another thing. I'll speak about it in separate. But this is the moment you said, do I know this by heart? Do I know this by heart in front of people? Okay? Now, when we practice the first 3 stages, all of our energy is to the past. We play, we see if we play in tune. Or we put a note, we hear if it was alright. We play the line and we think, was it nice? Okay? But the 4th one is performance. In performance, the energy is forward. And many people are not ready for this. So they go on stage and they start playing and they are still in the practice room. They're thinking, that was in tune, that wasn't in tune, oh my God, and was it right, was not? While they're going, while the whole thing is rolling forward. And this, so you must, when you practice performance, go right. I'm going to just press record and play and go forward. I'm not going to think, oh, was it in tune or not? I'm not going to stop. I'm going to play the whole, whatever, even if it's 2 lines, or if it's a full page, and then stop, listen to myself, or, have an idea of what happened, and then correct it. And, of course, comes also the point of the fact that we're going to be nervous. You are going to be nervous when you're going to be on stage. And most of us know what will happen when we're nervous. Some of us tremble. Some of us forget. Some of us get tense. Okay? Some of us do all of it together, which is always a circus. It's great, amazing. But I think part of the performance practice is to accept that it's going to happen. Okay? Not to say, I hope it's not going to happen. It's to say, it's going to happen. And I'm going to have to deal with concentration problems in the beginning, with breathing, with overtension. And if you know that this is going to happen and you're preparing for this, then maybe, let's say that you know that you have a problem with, first of all, how to enter the first note is really important. If you know that you're trembling and you want to say, so you know how to, many times, many times, and even more with the movement. The first note. And then figure out that the beginning is going to be uncomfortable. And there are moments that you will need to try to plan this. So when it happens to you, you're not surprised by it. Okay? Now, how we look on stage matters. Okay? It matters. How we approach the crowd, how we handle ourselves on stage matters. Okay? When you do a CD recording, what you do, what you dress during recording, who cares? Nobody cares, you know? But they still like to see what photo is in the, if you have a photo, it will be a nice photo, yes? So, if you know that you're going to go on stage and you don't have much stage experience, which usually is what happens with students, you have to plan to at least not show as much as possible that you are. Like you have to plan this. How am I going to walk on stage? You know, I'm going to, if there is a pianist and you're playing with the pianist, please acknowledge the pianist. I've seen so many people finish, thank you, and then, you know, the pianist is just about to, you know, get up, and they played a full, you know, sonata with you, Frank sonata. I did more notes than you ever do in your life, but you are like, oh, thank you, and you are already leaving, you know, so knowing that you are, what you are showing the people, it's not show off, it's giving the people a sense that they can trust you, that you are knowing what you're doing, and this is part of our profession, is the performance part of it. That's the performance police coming to take them. Okay, so those are the 4 elements, and I do practice them as soon as possible. That means if the piece is really, really difficult, and I really don't feel I can get to performance yet, then I give myself 4 days, 5 days, and then I start performing in really, really, really small chunks. Like, you know, even if it's 2 measures, it's 2 measures of performance. I make myself say, this is how I want it to sound. Because not getting to performance always means I don't play fast enough, which means I'm not doing technically what I should be doing. I haven't figured this out. Then, of course, go to the teacher and say, I can't play it fast enough. It's not play it another 20 times slow. Maybe it is, then play it 20 times slow and then try it. But do it on the moment. So you continue your investigation of the piece, saying, I have done this, that's done. And this is the fastest way to create, for me, a whole piece ready for performance. Yeah?
Thank you.
Questions? Wow.
How do you deal if you are tensed on the stage? I mean, if you're performing and you feel, like, let's say you have an audition, 5 minutes, and you have to relax yourself immediately. How do you practice that?
Okay. That's maybe the hardest question, because I'm nervous when I go. First of all, I never expect myself to go on stage and be calm. Okay? I always know I'm going to be nervous. So I take that as, Eyal, you're going to go nervous, and if it's, of course, if it's for a job and an audition, then of course I'm going to be nervous. So I know what happens to me when I'm nervous. I know what happens to me technically when I'm nervous. I used to tremble when I'm nervous. Now I tremble in my knees, but I don't tremble in my bow, because I managed to. So that makes me more calm, because I trust my hands. So there is something about knowing what happens to you and having technical solutions for at least some of the stuff that is happening. Secondly, so there's a technical element, not just psychological element to this. I know I'm going to be nervous. I accept I'm going to be nervous. Now I'm going to deal with the fact that I'm nervous and concentrate on this. On the fact that, okay, I don't feel great, but I'm going to just, maybe the first 1 page, I'm just going to be more careful, and then slowly get loose, depending on the situation. Yeah, of course you could say, orchestra. I have less experience in orchestra auditions, because I've never played in an orchestra. But I've done my fair share of auditions, and one of the things, and I've prepared a few people for good auditions. And one of the things I tell people is that try not to think what happened if you get the job, because if you, let's say, there's a concertmaster and there's a Philharmonic, and you're going for it, and it's a great place, and it's a great, and you practice for months about it, and you think, wow, that would be great if I get this. And if you think about it too much, by the time you go on stage, you have something to lose. You understand? You have something to lose. You can lose this job, and you have imagined yourself in this job. So I try to just, imagine myself playing well, and then walking away. And because it's of life experience, I've had auditions in which I performed amazingly well, and I got the job. Different reasons. Somebody came who was even better, or there was some politics or stuff. And I had also some auditions which I've done not really well, and in one of them I got a job. So you kind of go like, wow. Okay, that's kind of weird, but so you try to pull yourself out of this. Auditions, competitions are kind of almost a different bracket of nervousness. And again, in competitions and stuff like this, I try to tell people how you play is only 50% of the outcome, usually. So in some ways, you have nothing to lose. You know what I mean? Just play what you know, play your best, and let everything, maybe, everything falls in your favor, the right people with the right Bach taste, the, honest people like you, and they don't have anybody with their own students against you, so, boom, suddenly you're first place, or, in the finals. And then this next month, you're playing the same way in the wrong competitions in the wrong place, and you don't get it, and it just happens. It's human nature that this can happen. So, in some ways, release yourself. Don't try to play to the jury. No, this jury likes romantic Bach, so I'll change my Bach into the romantic. And I've seen people do it. It's very easy to do. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, and you go like, oh, I know. That person is German, so I won't do any embellishments. And that person is from Russia, so I will play more on the G string. No, it's like, because the person from Russia could have turned around and like Baroque now. And the person from Germany could have read the book that says that you can do embellishments. So you don't know, you can't second guess. So just play the music you want, and if you succeed, you succeed. If not, there's other places you can go to. I know it doesn't fully answer what you said, but maybe a little bit. Yeah?
What would be your advice for warming up in the morning?
Good coffee. Okay. Some people that I know I think it depends on personality. So you have to know yourself. I know a few people that I really admire, like that every day have their routine. Like absolutely, they go through the all 24 scales, and then they do, they just, takes 45 minutes, and they just go and they do it, and they do, or some people do their open strings. They've got that, and that's what they need to do. I don't do it because I think I need variety. So I think it really depends on what I feel I need to strengthen. So if I feel, wow, I'm going to play Zigeunerweisen, and there's an alto staccato situation there. So, a week before, I will work on my alto staccato, not mostly, but part of my warming up will be alto staccato. If it's something else, I will be something else. So I all the time will be moving around that stuff. Or if I know I have a weakness, for example, my weakness is intonation in octaves. Always been, always there. I hate myself when I play octaves. That's it. So I do play quite a lot of octave work and try to figure out things, especially before performances that has a lot of octaves. So I think that in case of mature, like all of you, mature students, not kids, but mature students, you should kind of re-question, what is my weakness? What do I want to now get better? And focus on that on your warm-up. And then slowly change phase and go to different things. But then again, if you're one of those people that need to do like, you know, your thing, then that's fine as well. Okay?
During performance, how you treat the audience? I mean, there is
With love. Oh, it's true. I've suffered a lot when I was in my mid-20s. I've suffered from a lot of stage fright, to the point that I wanted to quit. When I was 26, I thought maybe it's time to become a lawyer. I mean, seriously, I thought. Which is funny, because I love performing now. I'm scared, but I love performing, you know? So it's okay. You know, I got over it. I didn't get over the scared part. I got over the fact that I can handle it. But, so one of the advice was, you know, don't give a shit about your audience, or, you know, imagine them naked or something, which was very disconcerting. If you look at people and imagine them naked, I don't know who told me that, but I told them, imagine naked. Well, why? That will just not make me focus on what I need to do. You know, so, and the thing about hating your audience, and sometimes you see, you know, sometimes I see performers, and, you know, big ones, and you can see that they just don't like, that don't want to be there, or they at least act like they don't want to be there. And I find that always sad, if that's what you need to do. I think audience are the people who could have done something else, but instead they're sitting and listening to you. And that is amazing. All of you could have done something else right now, and you came. Because you think I will say something that will enrich your life, that's fine. But, you know, it's okay, it can be self-serving, but you can. You could have now been, you know, in a coffee shop and had a nice coffee instead of you're sitting here. So definitely, I need to treat you like you're my enemies. And the fact that you are scared or you're going through stuff doesn't mean that you need to kind of throw it at the audience. And this goes to another thing, that sometimes in the end of a concert that you are not so pleased with yourself. Some people come and say, good work, I really liked your performance. And we tend to think that those people are stupid, and we tend to show it, okay? So first of all, no, because sometimes you don't perform your best, but you still made somebody enjoyed themselves. And if somebody taking the time to come to you and tell you this, then for that particular 3 seconds, be kind to yourself as well and say thank you. Because the fact is that then you'll have a connection with a crowd that you are not afraid of. Now, it has to do something with, most of our first performances are to musicians, or worse, to violinists, which is terrible. Because when we play to a bunch of violinists, they don't listen to us like normal concert. They are looking at my technique, and are you playing out of tune? And, you know, you feel completely, you know, under the, yeah. And, you know, when you're hearing, you're sitting down and you're hearing another violinist play, and they're not playing so well, there is a part of you that is happy. You know, there's a part of you like, oh, too bad. No, maybe they had a bad day. It's natural, it's human nature. You know, I sometimes fall into this. I sometimes hear somebody, or sometimes I get angry, you know. I usually get angry if I feel that they're not respecting the crowd. But usually if somebody plays now not well, what I try to do is what people did to me, which I've always been very kind. I try to find the good things that happen. And I go like, okay, they've messed up their apple staccato in the rondo capriccioso, but they played really musically. You know, okay, there was a mishap in the Carmen Fantasy, but my God, what a style. So, you know, you look at the things, go like, right, this didn't happen, but I mean, we're just musicians, we're not heart surgeons, nobody dies. You can go again tomorrow and play. So, you know, and the thing is, if we sit down and we do that, if we get so hard on the people there, tomorrow you're going to be on stage. And in your mind, you're going to be on the crowd, and you're going to do it to yourself. That's karma. So, if you listen to somebody, and let's say I don't like their Bach. Okay, I don't like the interpretation of Bach. Fine. Maybe I like something. I'll try to say what else I liked and learn from what I didn't like and go on. And have the respect that they're on stage and they are playing. Okay? So the second I flipped like this, and it took a long time of self-work on this issue, my life became much easier on stage. Because it's not that I don't care about the audience, I do care about the audience. I come and I play, and if you like me, you like me, and if you don't like me, it's fine as well. I'm sorry you didn't like me, but it's okay, I'll keep on playing, and you do your thing, you as well as play. Maybe you're a better player than I am. I'm not saying you go to hell. I do my thing, I play, it's all fine. It's all okay. The second you feel this way, then first of all, you are more attractive as a player and as a musician, because you are not afraid anymore about how you're going to be judged. You've done the work, you have something to present, you're presenting it. Some stuff works, some stuff doesn't work, and then you go back and go, wow, that was not good, the third page of that, I'll go work on this, and then you move on. So the next time you're on stage, it's not life and death situation. It's just another performance that you're going to do, and you like the audience, you smile to them. Some people like to talk to them, some people don't. I like to talk. Some my other people in my quartet simply don't. So I like sometimes to talk to people, present them, be kind to them, and never throw your own inner feelings on a bunch of people that most of the time you don't know. More, come on. Questions? Technique?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Abbo staccato.
Okay.
I think it will work best by showing.
But I'm nervous.
It's better.
That piece.
Yeah.
So when you're nervous, it's. Abbo staccato. The problem with abbo staccato as look, I can't, teach everybody the one abbo staccato, but I'll speak about staccato and I'll demonstrate, and maybe it will click something in your mind. First thing about abbo staccato is it should sound nice. Seriously, I've heard staccato staccato. Yeah. Seriously, I've heard that. So please know. I mean, if you're doing that and you manage to do this, okay, but it's not about this. It's about to be attractive to non-musicians. Second thing about abbo staccato is that there are two kinds of staccato. The one which is on the top, yeah, and the one which is on the bottom, which is jumping. Those are two different staccatos. And most of the staccatos will go from one to another. And you need to know, as you play the staccato, when is it exactly going to jump. So when you practice a staccato, like I know I'm going to start the flying exactly when I go to the E string. You must plan this. And you must plan exactly where you're going to be on the bow. I've seen many people, you know how it is. You go like, and you keep on doing this, and sometimes you're here, and sometimes you're here, and sometimes you're here, which is fine, experiment, but all the time know where you are, so when it works well, you go, okay, that is where I'm going to start working, from this point. And most people who practice unsuccessfully abbo staccato are too emotional about their abbo staccato. Instead of being like, okay, this is a technique. The problem with this technique that it's constantly changing. If I'm doing spiccato or vibrato, I'm reaching equilibrium. I'm all the time in the same place or the same movement. I'm reaching this, but here, every movement I make is changing where I am in the bow and changing the amount of pressure. So it's not something that you can start here and just continue all the way down, because circumstances are changing. Okay? Now, so knowing exactly where you are, knowing that a lying staccato, we call it lying staccato, the pressure is going inwards with the first finger, bam, bam, and you're stopping like an ABS in the car. While when you reach the middle and you're trying to, then the whole feeling is of this. So the third finger is the one that is. That's why people who have apostaccato like with doing this are in trouble when they reach here, because then you have to put the finger down. So try to put all the fingers on the string, on the bow. It's not. It's not going to help you by lifting them. Now, you'll find that most people fail on the string crossing. It's like, you slip like on something like an oil or something. And that's because we have tension that goes from the bow into the string, right? And when we change angle, we need to also change, we need to continue the same feeling of pressure. So the arm needs to go, if we're going from, this needs to go up, like it's a piece of wood. Imagine that my whole hand was a piece of wood. So I would go like this, okay? Although this is a small movement, physics makes my hand go much higher. If I do, this is an extreme example, but most people will follow their hand. They do instead of, okay? This works well in legato, but apostaccato, you lose the tension. So you need to bring the arm very high. Yes? Now, the actual movement. Here, look, each of you has a certain apostaccato. Some have more talent for this, and some have less talent for this. And it doesn't matter if you are very talented in apostaccato or not so talented. Anyway, you will need to polish that talent. Okay, make that talent work for you. But one of the things that I found hard to do is when I take somebody who has absolutely no apostaccato and try to teach them the initial movement. Because what I find is concerning is when people think they move the bow with the movement of the staccato. So they go like, or, and eventually they try to get it faster, and that doesn't work. It just simply doesn't work. What moves the bow is your arm. And this is my hand interfering with my arm movement. It's not this. It can never be done fast enough. So if you are starting, start with a double tap. Lift up exactly, and then know when it's going up. When the stick wants to jump, let it jump. This is you need to know your stick. Of course, each stick is different. And then maybe 3. Okay. That's pretty much what I can say, like, in a general. Then I need to think to see people I can try to fix and change, but that's pretty much what it is. Knowing where the movement is coming, know that you're going to change your staccato, knowing that you need to change your angle, okay? And knowing that the stick is moving from the arm. Right.
How to get a faster trill?
The problem with trill is that, like vibrato actually, and like any fast movement, is that most of us err to playing too strong. Like most people will, I hear people, I don't hear people go, it's most people just over press. And the second we over press, we are that the second we are, people, if we practice our trill, and I've seen people do it, it's too slow. What you need to do is make it, when you're practicing trill, is figure out the minimum pressure. That's it. That's my sound. See, that's not a good sound, and that's enough pressure to make a sound, which is about 80% of the real pressure. Yeah. No, I don't.
You don't press to the end.
I don't press to the end. That's pressing to the end. So if I can find an 80% pressure, so first of all it's lighter. Then the thing about lifting the finger. You need to be able to lift your finger from the bass joint, not like this. People who play with fourth finger was like that. Good luck. Because that's a long way, that's a very high, Now, why the finger is straight? I'll talk in a second. That's, I think, I speak to some of you, but I think that's very important because I will just answer the question. So I think first of all, it's about the touch. Okay, it's about the touch, and it's about how to lift more than how to press. You know what? Most of us think only about the pressure, but and the more fast you are, you have to be the minimum amount of height from the string.